Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's spotlight session with our winner from our January Notes Challenge. Her name is Marylee, and she's a multi passionate educator and an author and a former owner of an award winning business. And she's now on Substack. And I'm so excited to hear her story. So let's welcome. Hi, Marylee. Hi.
Hi,
Welcome.
Anna.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me here today and having that note challenge. That was a lot of fun, and I was very happy to win.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm so excited. And let's start. Maybe can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your background?
All right, thank you. So I'm Marylee Pangman. I was born and raised in New York State, which is upstate from the city, so don't think it was New York City. And I worked I don't want to get into all the detail, but after graduating from school in my master's program, I worked in a nonprofit agency for a very long time. It was the YWCA that I ended up starting in the pool and elevating in jobs until I became an executive director in another association. And so I was out, working with women and as a director over the programs and all of that. So I learned from a nonprofit point of view a lot about business through that. I had always, since I was 5 years old, wanted to start my own business, but you look for a niche. You look for something that's unique, and I couldn't figure it out. And so it was when we had moved from New York State to Arizona that I had another job in a nonprofit, but I was very tired of begging for money. And because you're always fundraising, you're always trying to find ways to do the things for your mission. And so I finally left, but still I didn't at that point didn't know what I was going to do. And all of a sudden there was this idea, because I'd started gardening in pots here in Tucson, and this idea came: could I do this for others? And I was like, yes, finally it's a niche and it's something that's fun. I don't know that much about it, but I'll learn. And so I started the business. It was called The Contained Gardener. I grew it for 15 years and had staff. We had my biggest year was we had $500,000 in sales, and I did homes and more like floral, not so much cactus and food, but floral, because I wanted color. I love color.
Yes.
And so I ended up selling the business in 2012, and I sold it to the company that I wanted to buy it. It was a locally owned landscaping company, and I really liked them, and I wanted them to buy it, and they did, and they met my demands, and I retained all publishing and educational rights and consulting rights so that I could continue, because I gained all this knowledge in container gardening here in the desert, and felt that I didn't want to give all that away. So I kept that. And so after I sold it, I had already started business coaching, because my colleagues and friends had said, Marylee, you need to help other business owners do what you've done. Because as I put it, I grew it from a seed of an idea to something that flourished. And so I was also writing my first book on container gardening in the desert, self-published that, and had sold the business and started business coaching. And I really like that. I have so many ideas that I can't execute them all. So if I have clients who I can help them bring their ideas to life, that was what was exciting for me. And when we moved, we were part-time in Hawaii for about 10 years, a very short part-time. But in 2016, we had an opportunity to move full-time there. And so we did that. And that's kind of when the first time in my life that I kind of lost my way, because I didn't feel I could do the gardening thing there when it was so different, and I would have to do it all through and Zoom wasn't that popular back then. You know, it wasn't coming into itself. And where I gave classes, they weren't ready to do it online. And so in the coaching, my clients, I had a couple of them that we did Zoom, but not most of them, because had a lot of restaurateurs and they wanted to see me. And so it just was a very confusing time for me, and I'd always had a path that I followed, and that was difficult. But I made my way. And then when COVID started in 2020, we had just experienced in 18 a 100-year flood, 4 feet of rain in 18 hours. We had 15 landslides separating us from the rest of the island. We couldn't get anywhere. And so between that and COVID, we decided to come back home to Tucson. So in 2020, we came back here and have never looked back. Just we're in the right place. And it's allowed me to reconnect with the gardening world here in the desert. And I published my second book. And I'm basically retired, but you know, many of us entrepreneurs never want to retire. And so I call it almost retired. You know, I'm practicing retirement. And so I've been doing, you know, teaching, and then, you know, I guess I should jump into fiction, because that's why I went to, and that's kind of like your next question, I bet, that I got into fiction because my second book, I don't think you can see it there.
No, it's a blurred.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe you can show it. Yes,
I'll show it in a minute. But I wanted to write. My first book is a month-by-month guide of how to garden in pots in the desert. My second book is I thought I needed to write the ultimate guide to container gardening in the desert, because I've taught all these classes to hundreds and thousands of people, but I was bored. I was totally bored. I had an 80% drafted, and I was just like, I just don't want to do this again. And somehow I got the idea, and I don't know if I was reading a parable, a business related parable or what, but all of a sudden I thought, why can't I write this book as a story and still have the lessons, but have the lessons taught by the characters in the book? And so I set out to do that. There is a guide, because usually in a parable, there's a guide that leads someone to lofty goals. Well, Riley's lofty goals was to have a garden. So, but she moved from Vermont, which is a cold 4-season climate state, to the desert, and had no clue of anything. And her neighbor, Ben, a crusty, old, wonderful man, who was a rancher, and he had a beautiful, beautiful garden. And he didn't teach her, he sent her out to learn, to all the people in the community that would know how to help her do this. And so that was the kind of way of the parable. But I created all these characters, and I loved writing them. I loved writing the stories. I loved developing the characters. And so a friend of mine is a cozy mystery author, and she has coached people. But she said to me, Marylee, why don't you just write fiction? Why are you worried about more gardening books? You don't want to do that so much anymore. Why don't you just write fiction? And I was like, I could do that? And she just opened my world, you know? And so instead of starting over, I just decided to take my characters and start their stories. And I'm a series person. Everything's a series. If I read an author, I want to read all of the books. If I like a musician, I want all of their albums. And so there's going to be a series. I started with book 1, but that has become now book 2. So now I'm writing book 1, and then I'll finish book 2. I figure there'll be 5, because it's about 5 very strong women. I'm adding 2 more, actually, so it's more intergenerational, but the 5 women, the core women, are all 55 plus. And so they're wonderfully successful women, but they're looking for what's next. You know, kind of like when we moved to Kauai and then back here, you know, me trying to figure out what my what's next is. And so each book will be centered around one of those women, and it'll be their story, but all the other characters. It's still involved in all the characters, and it's somewhat near future. I put it out into starting around 2060. So because I wanted a utopia world where they live, their community and their climate. I didn't want them to have to survive the desert. So that's kind of longer than I expected to talk, but that's kind
No,
of
no worries, no
just of
worries.
how I got to where I am now.
You got a very engaging style of storytelling, so I was listening very closely, actually, very
Well,
carefully.
thank you, Yana.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I love the approach. I haven't seen it and never come found such kind of approach anywhere else. To actually share your life lessons and also teach and help people, but not the ordinary way, but through fiction. And it's really
Yeah,
interesting. Really
thank you,
interesting.
thank you.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think people
and
are gonna love that. Yeah.
yeah, I hope so. I hope so. And I am starting a nonfiction line of on the same, like taking the lessons that are showing in the fiction, but giving them more for the people who will learn better through reading specifically and about later life, friendship. I'm a eternal optimistic realist. Okay.
Okay.
And I've always said that about myself, always. And so I feel very positive about even when life gets you down, that I see the silver lining. And so I want to be able to translate more specifically some of the things that are the lessons really from the fiction into reality of how do I do this? My friends, I've moved, I'm an empty nester, whatever the story is of a woman, and their friendships have changed. Yeah. And so how do they start again? What do they do? And so it's very, I'm not a psychologist or a scientist or anything, but just real life, how does somebody start to do this? And I know that as people read some of these things, they're going to give me their ideas too. So it's not just me espousing everything I think, but bringing in what a lot of other writers, because there's a lot of writers, women out there, men too, but women who are in the same age that I am, and they have a lot of opinions.
Yes, 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 and it actually becomes some a kind of a community content generated like thing that will be growing in the future also.
Yeah,
Uh,
baby boomers, watch out.
yes, yes. All right. Yeah. How did you decide to do this on Substack? How did your journey on Substack begin?
Well, I think I toyed with it. I followed Tom Kugler for years in all of the things he's done, and he had moved to Substack, and I knew that. So I looked at it, but I had discounted it. I didn't see it as a place for me. But as I got more and more into fiction, and I started seeing that people were serializing their fiction on Substack, and I thought, well, that's a way to start adding to my community. I had a small list, but not a very big list, and adding to that, and also practicing and but also accountability, because if I say I'm going to put out a chapter a week, well, I'm going to put out a chapter a week, and nobody's even standing there saying, well, I didn't get your chapter, but I know, I've said I'm going to do it, so therefore I'm going to do it. And what's neat is a couple of my readers have said to me, I look forward to Tuesdays now because I can't wait to see what I'm going to get. And
Yes,
that just, that makes your heart sing. I mean, this is
yes,
why you do it. And even if it's one person, you touch somebody. So,
yes,
so that Substack became the vehicle for me to do that. And I really, I'm liking it on Substack. I got, so I really don't like Facebook, and I'm still there because I have a strong gardening group there. But I like Substack.
yeah, yeah. The community is amazing, and people are so real, and the connections
Yeah.
feel genuine. Yeah,
Yes. Yep.
I also like that. It's not any other place online. It's not like that. It's just you
Right.
cannot find that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what do you where do you want to bring your Substack? What do you want to achieve, like in the long run?
The long run, I really do want to build my list. I want to build my subscribers, free and paid. And what I'm going to do is that as I finish what a book, then I will publish it, self-publish through Amazon and maybe through some other avenues. But I am semi-retired and I don't want to do too much, so I will contain how much I do. But I'll keep, because if I have 5 books in this series to write plus the nonfiction, I've got a lot of writing to do, and it's all going to be on Substack. And so I want to build that community, and I want to be a strong participant in the other communities that I feel the synergy in, and be it the women in my age bracket, but also, I love business. That's why I wanted to start a business at 5 years old. I love business. And so I love talking about it. And I love even learning more, and also helping people, because so many people are just starting out. And, just to give that little touch of inspiration or the step if they're confused, instead of trying to do this whole great big thing, to come down to, well, what can you do today? You're frustrated, you're overwhelmed. What can you chip off today, and help people in that way? So that's how I can try to, besides, what my fiction is trying to do, just by being an active member in community. That I enjoy that. I get a lot out of giving. I really do. Yeah. And I'm not stroking my ego. That's just me.
No, I think, there's a theory now that you got me thinking that it's actually that state of mind actually is one of the highest levels that you can achieve. It's because no, really, it's because usually at some lowest levels you don't really want to help people, or at some other levels you want to help, but in exchange of something like this transactional thing. But when you find real joy and fulfillment out of helping somebody without asking for anything, is like a next level of consciousness. And really, it's really.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that.
I think it's not a theory, or maybe I think it's a kind of a belief system that about the global consciousness or something, because we can connect with each other, and in order to be able to do that, you have to have that level of consciousness. Otherwise, it's not really working.
Yeah, and I think for me that the simplest way to bring that down to is that I just believe that somebody can do it. Whatever somebody's goal is, I may disagree with them, and I may disagree with them vehemently, but there's got to be something that within that of what they want to do, that yes, they can. And that's my answer to everything. You say you can't grow flowers in the summer in the desert. Yes, you can. And so, I can't, well, yes, you can. And maybe not completely the way you've set out to, but there's a way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's really true, and that's a unique idea for the business. Basically, growing flowers in the desert. It's already something that sounds impossible, and that's a huge, very, very powerful niche. And the message that you can. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay, can you share some best practices about how you approach growing your audience on Substack?
Okay, well, all right. So I feel. I'm still pretty new at this. I really only started in September. But at this point, with what I've seen, like with you doing in your notes boost and your notes challenge, and in others who will have like a notes share day and those kinds of things, I feel that notes are key, and that you need to do your posts. So let me just lay out what I think is the plan. That you do almost daily notes and consistently, but don't make them be, have a focus so that they're all coming in and touching the focus. And yes, some of it gets personal and some of it goes this way, but you're not going out with a million different ideas every day, because people don't know what to come to you for. And then whatever your publication is on Substack, which you should have one, that you have at least to do a post each week. And again, within your, let's call it a niche or focus, so everything's kind of talking about the same thing of who you are and what you can bring to people, but you're not selling. You're giving. You're giving, and it's consistency. But then to look at what groups are sharing posts where you can go in and share your notes and be active in there, and not just for yourself of putting yours in, but by commenting and restacking. So you're sharing something that resonates with you. And I like when I restack something, I like putting something, and I've watched some other people do this very well, where you put something, you restack with a note. So you're saying something in there, and, to just bring it back to maybe your story or your advice or something, and then relate it to the note you're restacking. And what I do with that sometimes is I will take what I've either commented on somebody and comment on their post note too. But I've taken my comments and I've turned them into notes, because sometimes you're so good at what you're saying when you're talking to that one person. And so you can take that and repurpose it into a note for yourself. So it's all focus and consistency as far as I'm concerned. And then making connections. And so that, I was shocked. I was starting to make some connections. And all of a sudden I get an email from Substack saying so-and-so is referring you and is recommending your publication. And I'm like, wow. And I hadn't learned that part yet. I was like, that's really cool. And then a few more started doing it. One person asked me to do it for trade, and I liked them. So I said yes, 1 for 1. And there's a couple of them that I'm getting almost daily new subscribers from those people's recommendations. And that's like a major. I think that I think I might have shared that with you, that like around 45% of my subscribers in the last month have been from recommendations. And so they're relationships. Now you still have to nurture those relationships. Yeah. And because maybe mine isn't giving them as many, but still. And when I've written them and said, thank you, I got 5 more this week. And they're like, they don't really pay it. I guess you don't know. And so they had no clue. And they were like, well, you're welcome. And so, they're going to keep leaving you on their recommendations because of that. So it's building community, building relationships, being consistent, maintaining your focus, all the things I think that are important in business.
Yes.
When we used to, in the old days, go out and do the networking at the restaurant every Tuesday or whatever it was. If you had a room of 100 people, you didn't try to talk to 100 people. I always told people, try to talk to 3. Go with a goal in mind. Try to talk to 3 and have meaningful conversations. And so I think that all applies to Substack.
Applies, yes, I fully agree here. It also applies for any kind of business that you want to do and try to do, online, physical, anything. It's just anything. It's all about people and connections. That's what it's all about, and I think that's the most valuable asset that you can build in time, like your personal connections with people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you first start business, who are you supposed to reach out to first? Your friends, right? Your family and your friends. Exactly. And so, why is this any different? It's not.
It's not. It's not, absolutely. Okay. Can you remember some challenges that you faced on Substack that you could easily solve or not so easily, and how did you address them actually?
First it's figuring it out and getting comfortable with the processes of what I even was just talking about. I've seen people post, well, I don't know what note, I don't understand notes, or I don't understand. I'll say restack, and they're like, well, restack, what is that? So learning all of those things. And I think it's good to go into some of the people who are writing the house. and follow what they do. Don't just try to read it all. Just watch what is Yana doing. Okay, she posted this, and then now she's got this note, and people are responding. What's happening in her world, and how can I learn from that? And then you can ask questions when you're part of a community or a group. You can ask questions. I don't. What is restacking? I don't understand that. And so that is one hurdle, I think, for myself and for anyone that was just coming in. But the thing for me, the challenge for me is I don't want to do the back end stuff, and I don't want to have to redo the about page. Oh, I just read a new thing about the about page. Oh, I should go in and change that. Or I have to get a new picture. Or I need to do this, or I need to do that. And, I need to change my website because I'm on Substack now, so I need to make sure that's front and center on my website, all these kinds of things. And I have a person, but she doesn't know Substack. So she really can't help me. And I honestly, I'm not making a lot of money in my almost retired state, and I don't want to pay for somebody just to do this for me. Yeah. And so I try to keep things as simple as possible and ask myself, well, this is a shiny object. It's really cool, but do I need to do it?
Yeah.
And so trying to make decisions like that. But I've just gone through, I talked to you, you helped me with this, of going into paid subscriptions. And there's so many pieces you have to do it right. And I'm not sure that I've even hit them all, but it took a lot of time. And in one of the challenges I have is I've gotten older, and I'll admit right now I'm 72. As I've gotten older, I can only really focus on one thing at a time. Now, back in the old days, and the kids, the millennials are all talking about multitasking, and the experts say you really can't, not effectively. But I really can only focus on one thing and do it well. And often for me, if it's a bigger job, then I can only do one in a day because my brain gets fuzzy. It gets tired, and I'm done. And so, so that's a challenge. And so, you're writing. What I want to do is do my writing, but these other things have to be done. And so I have to be patient. And I still get my chapter out a week. It may be an interlude, which is a short story instead of a full chapter, but at least it's something. And then to do the notes every day, to keep doing them in spite of having to do what I always call the back end. I don't know if that's still what it's called these days, but
I call it the boring stuff because
yeah. And so so that's the biggest challenge is having to keep up with that. And I'm hoping that I get to the point where the fixes are very small, and it's just like, I've developed this, and so I should just change in the about page about that, and then let it go. But then your profile snippet changes, and your snippet on your publication change. That's what I was just fussing with. So you'll see, multi-passionate is no longer there as of this morning.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. But it's a good word. I like it. Anyway.
Yeah, well, somebody gave that to me on Substack because I was like, I don't know, I've got too many balls in the air, and somebody actually gave me that word, and I really liked it. But now I feel like I'm honing in better. So
okay. Yeah. I like the approach of simplicity and just focusing on one thing. I think it's great. It's perfect. And what you said about focusing, this multitasking concept is a lie. Actually, it's not possible. And now it's obvious. I think it's now even proven by science and research that our brains cannot really do more than one thing at a time. Not effectively. Not at all. Exactly as you said. It's just you can do just one thing at a time and then do the other, and it's like that. Yeah. So I call them the boring stuff, but they also sometimes I consider those things as like distractions from the most important thing, and which is writing and creating for me as well. But truth is that we really have to do those things because they really matter for those are the things that people, when they come to our profiles and our newsletters, that those are the things that they see first, and really, we really need to fix that.
Yes, and I want to add that too many times, because when I look at somebody's publication to decide if it's something I'm interested in, the first place I go is their about page. And
Yes.
if they have just the default from Substack, or they haven't taken the time to do anything, I'm just like, oh, you don't care. So, why should I care?
Exactly.
And the other thing is because I do 90% of what I'm doing on my iPhone or my iPad. And so the app is different than being on your computer. And what I wrote a post about this, and of course everybody saw it, but that if people would put the URL to their subscribe page in their about page, then you can go somewhere, because at any time else if you wanted to upgrade or anything, you've got to go into the non-app portion. You can't do it in the apps yet.
Yeah.
And get the link. And so if you could put the link in your about page for your subscribe, I think it would help if people are reading on the app. So but get something on the about page to tell us what you're doing, because people pass you by, because I do.
Yeah, you're very right. Yes, it's very good advice also to add this link. It's really helpful. I have one, I think. Yeah, I
Oh.
definitely. Yes. Okay. Yeah, let's maybe deep dive into what you do in your Substack. So you tell stories which celebrate personal growth and the power of friendship, and it's from what I remember, predominantly about women, but also for men. Yeah. And they also inspire readers to believe in themselves and embrace possibilities, and ultimately, like, say yes, I can, which is like this connection, this unique connection between nonfiction and fiction, which I like very much. But how tell us more? How does this actually work?
Well, as a longtime entrepreneur and business coach, I have in life, I'm experienced in life, 7 decades counts, but all these things kind of come together, and I think I've always had a huge imagination, and I never had a place to put it before. And so the being able to tell the stories and have the women have challenges of some nature. I don't want to give things away, so I can't tell you some of them. But many of them right now in book one are talking about what am I doing? The one of them, Raven. This is kind of positioned in southwest U.S., and so she's actually of a first American nation, but it's made up. It's fiction, Sabakari, and she is like a horse whisperer, but she's experienced horse trainer and also a psychologist, and so she's bringing these two things together, and so. Um, she's traveled around the world to work with people's horses because she's very well known. And she's 70 years old, and she's tired of traveling, and she has a beautiful ranch. And so she's creating a training facility at the ranch in order to have people bring their horses to her. She's had the cabins made so that they can stay. So it's this whole challenge of what is she going to do next, and how is she going to keep giving what she wants to give and create a legacy. And so that's the center of the book one, around meeting all of the other characters. But so it's like, okay, well, and so I'll put some snippets in there about how she does her marketing when she changes her whole business model. It's like Nora Roberts. When I started reading her as a younger person, every one of her books is centered on a woman, and I believe all of her women owned a business or had something going on with business. And so I was eager to read her books because I was getting tips, even though it was a minor part of the business of the book. And that's what I feel like I can do through these books, is not only about life, but about what they're doing if they are in business, how they're growing that business, or what they're doing, so that people like start thinking, well, oh, I never would have thought of changing my business model from this to this. And it's just one little spark that comes. And oh, I'm not traveling anymore, but I don't have many friends where I live because I've been traveling so much. So now my basket's empty. I need to fill my basket and have people help me fill my basket. So that's kind of how I take the stories and try to weave in different kinds of things around being content in life.
Sounds amazing, really. Sounds amazing. Would you like to share a bit of a part of your story so that people would really get what it
Sure,
is?
I will give it a valiant effort. I have not practiced this, so but I'll set the stage just a little bit. But I was just talking about Raven and her ranch, and one of her new friends is Val, and so they're sitting on Raven's porch because Val loves horses, loves to ride, and Raven and I had invited her to come see the ranch, and they could take a ride on Raven's horses. So Raven and Val were sitting comfortably in silence on Raven's porch. One would think they'd been friends for years, even though they had met only a week ago. Seeing that Raven was deep in her thoughts, Val got up from her rocking chair and leaned against the wooden railing, gazing at the sprawling ranch. The wind tugged at her hair, but it couldn't shake the weight pressing down on her chest. Somehow, this place brought disquieting thoughts to the forefront of her mind. She'd come to Sabaka to seeking peace, hoping the quiet of the desert would somehow fill the empty spaces inside her, but so far, all she'd found was more silence, more emptiness. She took a deep breath, the words rising in her throat before she could stop them from interrupting Raven's thoughts. Raven, I've been here for almost 2 years now, and I still don't know what I'm doing, she began, her voice faltering. I thought leaving nursing would be freeing, that I'd finally have the space to figure out what I really wanted. But instead, I feel lost. It's like I've walked off the path I've always known, and now I can't find my way back. Her hands gripped the wooden rail tightly, as if holding on to something, anything. Anything would keep her from unraveling completely. Nursing gave me purpose, something to wake up to every day. And the farm, it was home. There was always work to be done, family to care for, and a rhythm of life I could count on. But now it's all gone, and I don't know how to move forward. I don't know if I can. Val's voice cracked, and she fought to hold back tears stinging her eyes. I thought I'd come here, retire, and find some kind of peace. But it's like the more time passes, the more I feel like I'm fading. I see this beautiful place, and all I feel is empty. Her breath hitched as she continued, the words pouring out like a confession. I look at you, Raven, with all your plans, and it's inspiring, but it makes me feel even more lost. I've always had direction and always known what I've wanted. And now I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm supposed to have it all figured out, especially at my age, but I don't. And it scares me that I might never find that sense of purpose again. Her voice dropped to a whisper, the vulnerability cutting through the air like a sharp edge. I'm drifting, Raven, and I don't know how to stop. Raven watched her new friend, the weight of Val's words settling between them. She'd gotten up from her seat while Val was talking. She reached out, resting a steady hand on Val's shoulder, grounding her in the moment. Val, Raven said gently, I hear you. I've been there feeling lost, like everything that once defined you has slipped away. It's terrifying, but admitting that, it's the first step. She paused, letting the silence fill the space, giving time for Val to breathe. I don't have all the answers. Neither of us do. Life has a way of pushing us in directions we never expected. Sometimes the emptiness you feel now is making room for something new, something you can't see. When I started thinking about turning this place into a training facility, I didn't know if it would work. Hell, I still don't know. But I knew I had to try, step by step. I followed what felt right. You don't need a grand plan to start moving forward. Just follow the small sparks that light your way. My grandmother used to say, when you can't find the path ahead, sit with the earth beneath you. The ground holds memories and the wind carries whispers. The way will reveal itself, but only when you stop trying to force it into view.
Yay. Yay. Hey. Oh, I enjoyed listening that. It's really a good example. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice. I like that. I'm not really into fiction, but actually, now that I'm hearing you, it made me feel, good in a way. Yeah, really, really.
I read fiction. I took me forever to even read anything real nonfiction except for school.
Yeah.
And it was my world. When I was a kid growing up, I went to the library and I had books out all the time, and it was my escape. It was my world. Um, it's like a respite. And so when you're reading nonfiction or working so hard on business, it gives you like this vacation. Because if you have a really good novel, and let's say living in the desert, and you're reading a story about a cold climate, and they're in a snowstorm and all of this, and you want to get a blanket, you're cold, but it's the story, it's not your life.
Yes.
And so it can give you a really good break. So I suggest you try to read some fiction.
Yes, that's how I feel. That's exactly how I felt right now, by the way. It's like a vacation. You're totally right. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, it's because actually that's the first time for me for a very long time, and because of course, I have read some books of fiction in the past, but as you saw, the only word that I could think about was good, like feeling good, because I didn't really, I'm not really used to that kind of feeling. It's exactly like a vacation, actually. Yes.
Yeah, good for you. Good, good. I'm
Yes,
glad.
thank
I'm
you.
glad we took the time to read it then.
So you're reaching, yeah, you're definitely touching hearts, and
Thank you.
you have
Thank you.
a style that it's really relatable, highly relatable, I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, what about paid subscribers? What do they get and from your Substack?
Okay, so when I first started, everybody got everything, and basically it was my chapters, and then through encouragement, I decided to go paid. And even a couple of my readers said to me, Marylee, you need to find a way to get money for this because you're giving so much. And so what they get, the free subscribers will get the first 3 chapters of this book, and then any future book. They'll always get the first 3 chapters, and any public posts, and also any interludes. So the short stories, they would get them too. So they still would be getting quite a bit of story and linked to all together of these characters, but they wouldn't get then after the first 3 chapters, they wouldn't get the full chapter. And I'm up on the first book. I'm writing chapter 16 right now, and I think I've got maybe 6 or 8 interludes. So there's quite a bit of meat there about what happens. And so then the paid subscriber would get access to everything. All of the chapters, and every week they'll get the chapters. And now I forgot the other things that they get, Yana. But basically, that's the main thing. They're getting all of the stuff. And then I also have what Substack calls a founding membership, and what I call it is the inner circle. And that's where I really want to form people who really want to relate with each other and me. And that it's like my circle, my people. And they'll get everything, of course, that paid would get, but then also they'll get a digital copy of each book as it comes out, and more access to like do a workshop. I'm not putting a time frame on how often workshops will be because I'm almost retired, but they'll have some Zoom times where we come together and I'll have a theme that we'll talk about, and it'll probably be about, commiserating as we get older or something like that,
Yes.
And then also, if I haven't thought really about doing the inside story of my writing and development of that, but if they're interested in that, of course, we would talk about it. And I expect that I'll send them some more emails just for them, of what I'm doing or what's going on, or that I just decided these two characters aren't going to be men, they're going to be women, because my women seem to like the fact that I have mostly women in my characters. So, I just did a sex change. And so I should have brought that page up, and I didn't, but that's the essence of what people get. And the paid for the annual is only $49 a year, and so they can read everything, up to the first 3 chapters and that, and then they get everything for $49 a year, and then the inner circle is $149 for the year.
Yeah. I love that. It's like your tribe. You're building your your own tribe.
Right.
It's amazing that we can do this on Substack, actually.
Yes, it is. It's really great, really great. And I had done a membership in my gardening world for 3 years. I'd had a membership program for them, and I have quite wonderful people who follow me, and I'm really trying to urge them to come over to my fiction. So some of mine will be gardening tales woven in, so that I'm like, see, this is about gardening. Come on over here and learn more.
Yeah, why not? You could implant like gardening tips as well into the fiction stories.
Yes, definitely.
Love that. All right. So anything major you plan to introduce in the future for your paid subscribers? I'm not really sure how, because you're already serializing, and that's already something that is coming in the future for paid subscribers.
Just because I can't remember if I can get to that page pretty quickly if I can type.
Yeah, I think you mean the benefits for paid subscribers in general.
Yeah.
What you have.
Well, you know what? I didn't talk about the life's threads because I've added the nonfiction component, which is life's threads, and I'm really kicking myself because I haven't even written a post on that yet, and so
that's why maybe you can't remember it, but it's there.
Yes, exactly. Well, and I use AI, and I had we have a very good relationship, and I had a strategizing session with my AI yesterday because I have 3 things I need to do, and I'm like, am I procrastinating? What's going on? So it helped me, get them in line and figure it out, and said, okay, do this, and then do life's threads first post. And I think you're making too much of what you're trying to do. So I'm like, good. So life's threads is talking about. I hope it to be mini books on building in later life, building friendships, finding your purpose, and just developing positive relationships and all of that. It's not health centered, except it's really your mental health. It's that, what you need in your social community and all that. And so the paid subscribers will also have full access to what I'm writing about that. And one of the things I plan to do is to, our notes can get lost out there in Never Never Land. And so I'm going to take my high points each week, and also a few that I've seen from others, and send them out to my paid subscribers. Because I think a lot of them aren't active on Substack, and so depending where they came from originally, and so that would give them a taste, and also might encourage them to get into Substack to see what else they can find that's of interest to them. And then because what I feel is that the fiction, which is Women of the Canyon, that's the series, Women of the Canyon, and then Life's Threads, the nonfiction, they create a complete circle of our lives. And depending on how people enjoy taking in information or having storytelling or any of that, they can get it one way or another. And I'm hoping that they decide, I'd really like it to be. That's what I want. I want people to want to read it all. And nothing is so long that they can't. I'm not writing like 100,000 words in friendship. No, that's not coming from me. Just step by step. This is what you can do. Make it
Yeah. I also noticed like online with writing and reading, people when read they online, they always try to and that's also proven by the data and analysis that I have made. It's the short stories are getting much more traction from from the longer ones. So yes. But the combination between I'm gonna repeat it again. But the combination between fiction and non-fiction, I think it's unique. I really like that.
And when I put it out there, I asked in a couple groups, what did people think? And they all were saying the same thing as you. And first the topic, and I talked about friendship first. They said the topic is needed, but weaving it together. And really what you're doing as a business person is you're trying to gain subscribers through two funnels. Yes. One is fiction. And you're trying to get them over to here, and the other is nonfiction, trying to get them here. And I think that's the harder one, is taking nonfiction seekers, learning seekers, and getting them into reading fiction. Like you just said, I haven't been reading fiction for a long time. Yeah. So that to me is harder. And there's so many people who are looking for help in how to do something. If it's business or personal. And so take some time to read fiction too, that's what I'm trying to do. So that really, I think that making that direction happen, that funnel pour over into the other is probably what I really want to achieve on Substack. Within finding the community.
I think people who like me are most into nonfiction. I think we are hugely underestimating fiction because and the power of fiction actually, because usually when you want to consume so much nonfiction content, it's because you want to learn and grow and develop yourself, and it's the content is delivered in a way that it makes you, it really puts a lot of it takes a lot of thinking and a lot of effort, and it's tiring. It is. But with fiction, with fiction you can actually especially the way that you deliver fiction, there are ideas and lessons that you can take out of it, just and also rest along in taking, like consuming this type of content. And so you can actually take some rest and relax, and also continue to learn through fiction.
Yeah, when you think back to what I said about Nora Roberts and her books, I mean, I probably got a couple of them were on, like one woman had a nursery, and it was when I had first started my business. So, I'm trying to glean any information I can for ideas of what I could do differently in my business or something. And it was just this novel that this owner happened, and bookstores, bookstore owners, that's a very popular genre, but it's really cool and I like now reading about fiction authors. So you could be reading fiction about a nonfiction author, because to me, it motivates me. I want to do more because I've read this. Yeah. So it's very inspirational in a way.
It's also very, very. It inspires you to also to think differently and to explore different areas, and gives you a lot of ideas and different angles. Yes, yeah. Maybe I should start reading fiction again. now you're.
But just have to find what will keep you reading. That's the thing, is to find the authors and the books and the style of books that you want to go like it maybe at night you want to go to bed and you want to read it because it's just calling you.
Yeah. You're right. You're definitely. Yeah.
And
I
you
have to
travel
think.
a lot. You could read the fiction when you're traveling.
Yes, for sure. Yes. But right now I'm listening to Audible on the phone because
Yeah,
on the airplane
yeah,
it's more convenient for me. But yeah, I should explore fiction as well.
yeah.
There are a lot of
I
books
bet
there.
you will. I bet you
Yeah.
will. I have
But
faith in you.
now after our conversation, I'm also thinking that I most probably will. Yes.
Good for you.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I also, I love that. That's one thing I love about having a conversation with different people is exactly about that, to explore
Yeah,
things that you don't really do and think that you don't like, but it's actually most of the times not like that. It's
yeah,
just,
yeah.
okay,
Very good.
okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. Right. So, yeah, maybe to move forward to closing our session, I have few more questions, like more of them, like more on the inspirational part. But before that, would you, let's say, if you had to start Substack all over again, like from the start, what would you do differently?
I think I would have been a little more patient in before I really got it going. I'd get all of that foundation work done as far as the about page, your profile, and get probably at least 10 posts ready to put up there and try to establish that foundation before I started looking to build and then getting that up and then going. I think it just would have made life a little bit easier if I hadn't jumped in with both feet on day one.
Right.
I think
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
I think that's overlooked also. The content that you have to have, especially if you want to open paid subscriptions. So people think, well, yeah, when should I open paid subscriptions? I have to have like at least 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 subscribers. But it's not like that. You can open it like immediately. All you need to do is to have reasons for subscribers to upgrade, which
Right.
is content. Content.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's people who say, experts like you, who say do it right away. It's some who say wait until you have X. But we know that when we have a good group of core subscribers who love us, that they're gonna subscribe. They're
Yeah,
gonna
exactly.
pay. They're gonna do it all. And so I just think so that you can concentrate on content because the foundation is built. It's like, okay, you can't put the walls up on your house until you've got the concrete down and everything ready to support the walls. So that's what I'm saying is build the foundation and then go.
Love that. I love that. All right. What are the three books that have significantly influenced your life? Can you think of three titles?
Well, the I'm going to bring Benora Roberts back because she obviously has infected me. But the other one, I can't remember when I read it first, but I have a feeling it might have been in college. And it was Psycho Cybernetics by Maxwell
Oh,
Maltz.
that one. Yeah. Yeah. Very good
And
one. Yeah.
And it's interesting because somebody else in the last 4 years, someone had mentioned it, and I decided to read it again just to see why did it impact me so much. Because I really couldn't remember. I always remembered I had it on my shelf until we moved to Hawaii because I didn't want to take books there because they get mildewed. And but I was like, well, why do I feel like it had such an impact? And really it's about confidence building, bottom line, and the way it's written is so accessible that I just and I know a few people in the last few years young people have been bringing it up again, and it was so I saw it on somebody's pile of books that when they posted books that they were reading, and I was like so happy to see it because I just thought it was such a good book, and I just think like I wasn't reading nonfiction back when I read it, and to still remember it today, I think, and it's a lot more than confidence building, but it's about confidence building.
Yeah. I'll I'll have to put it on my Audible now that you say it.
Yeah.
I don't have it. Hopefully
Yep.
they have it for Audible. I'll check.
I
Yeah.
think yeah, I'm like 99% sure because I think that's where I have it now.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That would be
So,
great.
and then, way back when, John Steinbeck, um, just his writing and different take on life, I just enjoyed that immensely. Um, and then when I was thinking about, because you had asked me that earlier, and I was like, well, if I say that, I need to go back and read a couple of his books because one of them's Cannery Row, and the other was Of Mice and Men, of course, was his most famous one. And I don't even know if it was Cannery Row or a different one that's not as recognizable that was the one that I just really drew me in. And so I'll have to get back to you on why, because I don't remember. But I just know I've always liked him. And of course, because I read everything, I've read all of his books. And probably some younger people, John Steinbeck, oh, they made me read Of Mice and Men in school or something like that.
Okay. Okay. Can you share some productivity tips?
Sure. They say, no, that's not the right quote. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay.
Yeah.
So focus on one path. I've always said that to people. I've always coached people. I have not been good at following my own advice. But at some point, we have to decide. And even if we have tandem paths, like I feel like my fiction and my life threads are very tandem paths, they're parallel. But to focus on one thing so that you're not darting all over the place. And those darn shiny objects are just going to pull you away. And to make sure that what you're how you choose to spend your time is going to get you to where you want to go. And if you don't have the where you want to go, then to be thinking about that and to think, we call it finding your why. Why do you want to do this? And besides why, I ask, what if? What if I could do this? This is what I think I want. What if I could do this? Or what if I could do it this way? I don't like this. I don't like doing live video. People will say that. So what can you do? Are there different ways? So that's what, focus on one path. And then also to create space. Oh, and I have one more. Well, not productivity really, but create space for yourself to be able to do what you need to do. Our to-do lists are never going to be done. So don't look for a done list, like an empty email box. Don't look for it because it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so create the space to do what needs to be done. Use your calendar to do it. Because if you look at your calendar and you put an appointment with yourself in to write this week's post, right? And you say you put it in color. This is orange. This is a no non-deal breaker. So create the space for what needs to be done, and then also to make sure that you take time for yourself. So, but I want to say one other thing that's not really a productivity tip, but to me, it's a real life business tip. Make sure your door is open. So many people, when I'm working with them and they're not making sales, they're not getting followers, they're not getting subscribers, you have to look inside yourself and say, is my door open? Because we can do this mental thing where we're like, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know what I'm doing, I've got all this back end stuff to work, I can't handle anything more. So that will close your door. And you have to give the universe an open door. And I caught myself in that in my business, at the container gardening. And I was struggling. We were at a low point of money, and I was just struggling. The phone wasn't ringing, and I needed new business. And I stopped. At first, I looked at my statistics, and I said, okay, it's February. What has my sales been for the last 10 years in February? Well, February is a low month. Okay, so that's realistic. That's data-driven information. All right, what do I need to do to get some business? And is my door open? Because I was in a bad mood. So my door wasn't open. But as soon as I started thinking, well, I have my email list and I can email them. I usually get business from that. I'll give them a special. Anybody who signs up to do X in February, I'll give you this deal. And then I called a couple of my really, really good clients and asked them, and I was honest with them. I said, money's tight right now. I'm struggling. Can you help? Is there something you might want to do in April that you could do now?
Yeah.
And they said, yes, why not? It's no shirt off their back. So yeah, thank you for letting me get it done early. I'm glad you called.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's
so
really
make sure
like
your door's open.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really like that. And I think that's a huge thing. It's mindset. I have always said that it's 80% mindset of our success and
Mhm.
just 20% of everything else.
Right.
And yeah, I love that. I'm stealing this.
Mindset, good.
Yeah.
Mindset and do the work. You still got to do the work.
Yes. Yes.
It's like I could open my door till I'm blue in the face, but if I don't take some action, then I'm
Yeah.
not going to get any more
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. A plan without an action is just a dream, It's just
There you go. Good guy.
yes, it is. That's for sure. That's for sure. Right. Final question. If money wasn't an issue, what would you do?
In my business, is that how you take that, or
It's
whatever
however
I
you take
think?
it. Yes. Yes.
Well, you can guess this. The first thing I would do is hire somebody to do all the boring stuff.
I knew you're gonna say this.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I see. I wanted to say, what would I say? and and then having that, I would still be doing what I'm doing. But then, if money was not an object on anything, we would travel even more than what we plan to travel. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe hire somebody to be a slave. We used to call it. We wanted to hire a wife, but no.
Why not?
Just yeah. But yeah, to travel, have fun, and have somebody do the boring stuff.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. Yeah. I always said that I love that answer, that you would do basically the same, maybe more of it, because it already means that you have an abundant life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel that we're very fortunate
yeah,
in how our lives have gone, and it's like we had bought a house, our first house in Tucson, and well, actually, Laura had a house in New York State, and her first person who came to see it bought it. When we put our house on the market in Tucson, the first person who came to see it bought it. When we put our condo on sale in Kauai, the first person who happened to walk in bought it. And so it's just, we're very fortunate in that.
great.
And that was during COVID. That last sale was a luxury expense for someone during COVID. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good. It's really good. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation, Marylee. It was really, for me, inspiring personally. I might want to go and read some fiction now because of that. We'll definitely follow your, yeah, we'll definitely follow your content. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm sure people are gonna love it. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you. And thank you so much. And thank you for doing the challenge in each month and being able to spotlight some of your people, your circle. And it's been really fun. I really enjoyed it very much.
Me too. Me too. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Have a
Bye.
good day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye. Bye. Join me for a spotlight session like this. All you need to do is to join one of my monthly challenges, either notes or writing. Stay consistent and make sure you add yourself to the accountability tracker. Oh, and you have to be one of my paid members. If you complete just one of those challenges in just one single month, it's highly probable that I will select you for a spotlight session so that you can talk about yourself, share your personal story, and spread the word about your Substack so that more people will learn about it and hopefully become your subscribers. I distribute those sessions to my entire subscriber list on Substack, ConvertKit, NowKit, and my Medium account and my social media channels. It's easy to win those challenges, and all you need to do is just to stay consistent. I see you inside.